Rikthehemi sërish në studio. General, is the first time I'm talking with the title to a general.
Here. I hope I'm doing okay.
You're doing very good.
All right.
You're doing very good. So, you fully supported President Trump, who won your district by 32% points more in 2016. Being a military person, how do you evaluate the support of the president to the military?
Well, the president has been a big supporter to the military, and you're exactly right. I support President Trump. He is the political outsider. He was the businessman you were showing that quote, sharing that quote from earlier. I supported President Trump when he was candidate Trump, when he was running. In fact, I'm the only candidate in this race who actually contributed to President Trump in 2016 to help him get elected. I support him because he supports the Constitution. He supports free enterprise, and I think he's making great decisions from a policy standpoint. From the military, he's done a good job, I think, of taking a stressed military. He has the America First policies that he has in place that talk about how we engage overseas, how the military is being used. And I think the troops and all see that, and they take it as a great encouragement. And then, of course, supporting them publicly, verbally supporting the military, and then from a budgetary standpoint, being able to take care of our military forces, to provide them the tools, organize, train, and equip them in a way to be able to do the job that they're supposed to do, which is to fight our nation's wars and to be that deterrent force for our country, to fight for our freedoms.
There is a big news recently from President Trump, the withdrawal of 25,000 military from Germany.
Right.
So how do you strategically or military evaluate this situation?
Well, it's a strategic alignment for a number of reasons, a strategic realignment. One is we have the America First policies, where we're looking for our allies to step up and provide more for their defense. And America has been a lead in the defense of Europe and in NATO for a long time. And we really do need those countries to step up, at least on par to where we were, and take more of the burden of that defense. We've taken our very strong and capable military and we've stretched them thin. We've worn them out. We've taken the equipment and used it to a level that is actually hurting our ability to defend our country now. So it makes sense. We still have the ability to go and help. We're not leaving anybody behind. We're putting them in a leadership role with us there to support and to be there for our allies. And it's not just withdrawing the troops from Germany, because we're going to actually be pushing some of that capability down towards Italy, to the southern part of Europe, as well as, I believe, a little bit to the east into the Polish area.
And some in Belgium. But do you think that this weeks Germany in front of Russia?
I don't believe so. There are still going to be U.S. troops there, supporting, working with our allies. And I tell you what, no other country can do what we can in terms of deploying forces. So if it became, where we needed to put military force back in Europe, we'd be able to do that very quickly, very efficiently. And we want to preserve our capability to do that. So we're actually increasing our ability to support our allies by making some of these strategic moves in the America First policies.
On the other side, they have to pay the 2% of their GDP for the military to support
the NATO standard, yes.
The NATO standard. Yeah. Okay. You support President Trump. This is clear.
Yes, it is.
Now, that you said that with the deck stacked against him, he continues, I think that he has done absolutely phenomenal work. But, always there is a but, or a question.
Yeah.
We are in the middle of the pandemic. There are a lot of things that are done, but there are a lot of things that maybe can be done better or needs to be done better. How do you evaluate the COVID management from President Trump?
Well, I think we need to look at the government as a whole, and we have to realize, that the quote you were talking about earlier wasn't really COVID related, but we can apply it to this when I talk about the deck being stacked against him, because if President Trump says something, there's an immediate pushback to it right away. The travel ban. oh, he's racist, he's, whatever they want to call it. But now we look at it and realize it was a very, very smart move to try and limit the coronavirus, the COVID-19 pandemic. The information that he collects from the different agencies, including independent agencies across our government, has been very mixed messaging. If think about what we've been told about COVID. What are the truths? What do we know? What things should we be doing? And how that's constantly evolving. But in reality, in a time that we needed to bring our country back together, like just right after 9/11 when we were attacked this time, but it was by a pandemic. But instead of coming together as a country, we have Congress that's fighting our president. We have a lot of the media that's going against our president. Everything we said, all the way down to, the drugs that have proven to work to help fight coronavirus. Just because he said that he was for them, it becomes a political issue. So once again, I believe he's provided great leadership, but he certainly has not had what, in my business, we would call the wingmanship out of the rest of government and from a lot of the citizens, and especially from the media, to be able to deliver that clear message, that plan of here's where we need to go, here's the things we need to do to be able to beat this going forward.
The Congressman Mitchell, who is retired.
Retiring. He's
still retiring. So he announced that wouldn't seek the re-election because he's frustrated with politicians too busy to play politics and not to resolve the issue. So how do you think? Do you see any opportunity in your elections or in the elections in the swing states like Michigan for GOP to get back the House, the Congress?
Well, I certainly see that there's a path to do that, you bet. I think there's a lot of people that are frustrated with the dysfunction that we're seeing going on, the lawlessness that you talked about earlier. And I think we're seeing a great groundswell of support for a lot of these values that we've been discussing on the set here this afternoon. So yes, I think there's a great potential to be able to take that House back. Congressman Mitchell is frustrated with the dysfunction in Washington, D.C. and not being able to get things done. And, from my perspective, it's a little bit of expectation management. What do you expect walking into, this congressional body, this legislative branch of our government, the way that it's set up right now under the same conditions? So to me, it's really about standing on principle, doing the right things for the right reasons. You don't always control the conditions or the outcome from it. But if you simply do the right things for the right reasons and being able to look yourself in the mirror, know that you're a person of integrity and of core values, you're doing what you can do. You fight the fight, you do what you can. You're not always going to be successful, especially in Washington, D.C., when you're in the minority in the current conditions.
So let's consider that you are elected.
Okay, good consideration.
Good consideration. So do you think also to go on the other side of the aisle and propose a bipartisan bill in order to help Americans to overcome this situation that even for something to support people's life, both sides of the Congress do not find the same alternative as it is now?
Well, and I think one of the questions you're asking here really is, I think, one of my strengths in this that really distinguishes me as a candidate is I am a statesman. I am a diplomat. You talked about in the military, we are by law apolitical. We don't get involved with politics. But our job is to bring people together to get things done. I believe in having relationships with people. Doesn't mean I necessarily agree with them, but you need to be able to have civil discussions. We need to be able to have dialogue. We need to be able to bring partnerships together. But just like so many of the conflicts that we have in the world in different ways, I think if we really search for what we have in common, we'll find that we have a lot more that we can work together for and solve than things that we should be fighting about. I can find something with anybody that we have in common, something that we can get done if we decided to put our minds to it. So my focus really, back to my leadership style of positivity, is to approach people and find out what things can we do together, not what things do we want to fight about. So I am the statesman in the room. You don't hear me yelling, screaming, or anything else like that. That's not my style, and that's not the way I work. So it is to build collaborations, partnerships, and to get things done.
So we know that you support President Trump. Now, recently, we have seen polls that show that the candidate, the Democrat candidate for president, Mr. Joe Biden, the ex-vice president, is staying in his basement. But is rising in the polls. How do you explain that?
Well, I think Joe Biden's worst enemy is Joe Biden. The more he talks, the more ammunition it gives. So I think right now, if I was to play inside the head, of his party, I think the idea is that they just keep attacking President Trump, keep him as a low profile as possible because they don't want contrast, they don't want debates, they don't want exchanging of ideas. Simply, they're trying to make the election a mandate on President Trump and to keep him out of the way.
But do you think that should be a debate?
Oh, I definitely think there should be a debate. People should talk. There should be an exchange of ideas. And I'm very much always for engagement, for communication. But that's not always political strategies and everything with it. So it's interesting because he should be out there. He should be getting the scrutiny, the questions and everything else. And he's just not being overly accessible right now.
Yes, sir. Okay. We are interrupting another time for a short break.
Okay.
So after that, we return back and we have a commercial break. And we think that this will go another 15 minutes.
Okay.